Hello.
With Whistle, we're going to talk about heroes. Woohoo!
Oh, do we have to?
I
We
mean,
talk.
we talked a little bit about them yesterday, so we can talk about a little bit about whatever
Find
helpful
where
that
we're at
it
here.
was. We should touch on the hero first, though. There's new people here tonight.
Hero. I got a new list for you.
Yay! I love lists.
I dropped it in the chat room that's here. A wonderful, wonderful tier list.
Yay! You made one of those last time.
Yeah, got a new one.
Sinjay. Now, what do the colors
caught your
mean?
thing. Yeah, so hi, my name's Whistle. I play on 1952 and 1258 part-time there. This is my tier list for heroes. In other words, S tier would be, God tier. S tier is usually what it's usually like, and then on down accordingly. As you can see in the D list, is heroes like Piedmont and Bumblebee who serve a purpose for a short period of time and then should be tossed aside and never be spent on. We've had how many? We've had. Well, I guess we talked about Sinji and Ray last time, yeah. So I keep calling her Diggy because she looks just like Diggy from 1952 server. If you remember Diggy Rip, but her name is Kotiya.
Toya.
Yes, Kotiya's dropped, and that's it, isn't it? Well, I guess you have some mutants, right?
Yeah. Gosh, we just talked about this yesterday. Edward and Bellevue and Alex. I don't think we've talked about any of those three. But they're not really. I guess Meridine. I don't know if that's how you say her name.
Meridia.
Meridia.
Merida. I
Disney.
don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have all the mutants on the C tier because none of the mutants are really viable except for Tywin, and as you can see, I have him in the B tier with an asterisk. The reason he has an asterisk and he's ranked higher than everybody else is because of his ability to put the vulnerable debuff on the other marsh. So, being that Megatron's such a big player in the army, if you don't have his level 7 skill, or if you don't have the new heavy trooper armor piece that unlocks vulnerability, Tywin is an option, and Tywin's a viable option. But, again, same with the other mutant heroes, is you shouldn't be investing your universal gold shards in any of these heroes. None of them are. I think Edward actually got worse. I think Edward was better the other way around. So yeah, they're even on a free to play, basis. Yeah, I mean, definitely shouldn't be investing in universal gold shards in these heroes.
Yeah, it's a shame that the mutants ended up so. Can I say tragic? Tragically awful. Like, it didn't really improve them at all.
Yeah, I mean, it did. They did get upgraded for new players coming in, but yeah, there's nothing really to write home about. I think they're going to do all of them. It feels like they're going to do all of them. So hopefully, we'll get one maybe. But even then, I don't doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah, we'll cross our fingers. So, Koyota. Gosh, I'm so bad at really 99.9% of these names. Uh,
Kotoya. I've been calling her
Kotiya.
Kotoya or Kotiya.
I think someone else called her Katya yesterday, or
Katya. Katya's sounds about right.
Katya.
Yeah, so I'll start off, I guess, for those people that are gonna listen to the recording and new players here. If you see an asterisk by the name on this tier list, there's a reason for it. Meridia, Lady Zizak have an asterisk because if you have their exclusive skill allows you to have a increased training speed on their particular unit. So like Lady Zizak has one for Air Force and Meridia for the Navy. Um, Tywin has an asterisk for the vulnerable buff, and also he's a gathering hero. Even though I didn't put Gonzo on here because I kind of figured it's known. Um, the other ones are in the S tier: Caruso, Amelia, Lancaster, Diana, Villers. These are all S tier heroes. However, there's asterisks behind them. Obviously, unless you're getting free Diana shards, you shouldn't be putting charge into Diana. That's not so much the case for the other ones. Amelia's unlocks for you at VIP 9. If you are at VIP 9 and you're going to continue to play, I highly suggest Amelia is a hero that you pick up. It, not having Amelia will slow your count down tremendously. Lancaster is, if you're Air Force, he's such a good hero that you're never going to use, and everybody hates the Air Force still because of Lancaster. If you're an MM, I can see stopping his exclusive 3 and you're all right. If you're a CE, you're going to want to take his exclusive as high as you can possibly get it. And Villers is a buff hero that's the only hero that does buff and doesn't have to be used in a march, kind of like your base skin buffs or whatever. So that's why they're sitting up there. We talked about Sinji Mega Maximo, the new edition. The two new additions I added to the S tier. We just said it: Kotiya, Diggy, and Optimus Prime. I'll touch on Optimus Prime later when I get to the very controversial Cromwell ranking here. The reason I have Body ranked where she's at is because of what she provides to the Navy and what kind of hero they would have to make to match her. So there's really single-handedly, there's no other hero better for the Navy than Kotiya. But this is where synergies come in, right? Like pairing Aaron with Kotiya and sea spray, if you will, and the range mechanics and how they work is where you get the synergies involved there. Her ability to silence all three heroes is pretty crazy, even though it's not really, I don't know what you're gonna say, the proc rate's not that high, but it's still the best possible option you have for the Navy.
Yeah. So you would pair her up. Are you saying you would pair her up with the Aaron's and Sea Spray?
Well, it kind of depends where your count's at, right? Like, people have benched Sea Spray for Ray. I've been seeing Ray show up on the Army a lot. And this is all kind of tying together. As we're getting more heroes, you're noticing the meta is getting to be a little bit, it's not so black and white, right?
Yeah, there's definitely always options.
The hands down, the strongest march in the game is still Air Force with Maximo, Selena, and Sinji. I mean, you just can't. It's a tough march. So if you put that there and you have everybody else to work with, the good thing is there's a lot of options. There didn't used to be. I mean, you, Balios, and Akatora was like the meta for forever. It seemed like, and that was a staple. And now it's you would be surprised not to see any of those heroes in a Navy March.
Yeah. So what would be, let's say, your top five uh Navy heroes, since we're talking about since she's a Navy hero. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that'd be Kotiya, Nemo, Aaron's, G Spray, and you would be my top five. Ray is in that mix as well. Um, that gives you six options there. I mean,
yeah.
G Spray seems to be getting benched, and you seems to be getting benched quite a bit. People that invested in Nemo aren't really excited invested in Kotiya, even though she's a better hero, slightly better. So
Kind of
it's,
comes
but
down
it's
to
it's a good problem to have. It's a good problem to
yeah.
have.
Well, and it kind of comes down to that hero chasing too. Like, if you've already started building one of those other ones, it's not necessarily in your favor to hero chase the newest one that's out. So that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, and that's kind of why I have them separated as I do. The heroes in that S tier are, for the lack of the better phrase, and I'm still in the phrase a little bit, but they're heroes that will take you through what I believe will take you through the entirety of 2023. Um, in other words, if they make a hero that is stronger than those top five, they're essentially a game breaking hero, right? Like Stingy, Maximo was kind of he wasn't the first, but Maximo was the most well known game breaking hero, and then now Sinji's a game breaking hero. Megatron's a game breaking hero. Optimus Prime really is too, and just kind of sucks for the Navy. Their game breaking hero is not quite. She's not quite as good as the other ones, but she's still pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's okay.
Yeah. So so the that kind of I mean the Navy's always been in a good spot. Like Navy's got I don't know how many heroes to choose from. It's just you could throw a stick at it and you're gonna be all right. There's I listed Akator. Did I not put Akator in there? I swear to God I put Akator
Yeah,
in there.
he's done in B.
Um,
He's kind of slowly been losing status.
he's kind of come back because of the new heavy trooper and well not the new heavy trooper but the new chip, the Rondell dagger chip.
Okay.
And I haven't and I yeah the way the mechanics work with that chip and Akator's attack skill
Mhm.
is kind of crazy. I've seen some battle reports where Akatora was you know the second or third person to proc and wiped out the entire other side of the in one shot. And it was like, whoa, what happened? So obviously it's a little, I wouldn't say finicky or quirky, but it's a little
That,
crazy how it works.
that's
And it's, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say that's a great point to bring up too. Just how the heavy troopers and the heroes affect each other, and their chips affect each other. Because I don't think that's really been talked about uh, yet by anyone. At least
Yeah, I mean, so like as an Air Force player, the best chip for you on the offense would be the Exton chip. Um, if you're rocking Maximo, the next would probably be the Rondell dagger, but just a close second with the Shamshir. So yeah, it hadn't fleshed out totally, and the RNG from those chips they're just so ridiculous. And I'll say that as a player from 1952 who's considerably lower in CP than me, even though he has a very strong Air Force. He wiped the floor with me in Warzone because his attack speed was so high on his heavy trooper that he he essentially knocked out like 8 spots before I even got to attack. it was like, he just procced right off the bat with Shinji and Maximo off his heavy trooper and just wiped. And I was like, dude, like he just wiped the floor with me. It was like wow. And so it hadn't totally fleshed out yet, but it's it does make some changes. It's going to make some change, but it's good. It's good to have because that means your previous investment might not need to be tossed to the side. You know, but yeah.
Hold on, I just need to figure out how to get my recording off.
He wants you to go away.
Spoonie is so demanding. No, I have a way to still record without it being displayed to you guys, so the YouTube people can still see me. It's not important. You're fine. Okay, so we've kind of touched base on the mutants and the name. Anybody have any questions or anything that they'd like to ask? Comments, things that they've seen that would be good to discuss? I don't know. You can speak or you can type, whatever you're more comfortable with.
Viewers, those must not be listening. I know she has a question.
Who?
Shells.
Oh, Shells. Yeah, ask him a good one.
Prey versus Cromwell.
Prey versus Cromwell. Neither. Neither. I wouldn't use either one. I mean, if you have them, that's a whole different story. Build this list on the thought process of somebody, coming up or starting or free to play. Prey's still good. Rock is still pretty solid, but the options right now in Army, in my opinion, if you're going to run, the best possible you're going to run is Megatron, Optimus Prime, and probably Ray. Now, you can still run Prey, you can still run Cromwell. However, at this point, I would not be buying them, and I would not be investing in leveling them up. So much so that I think Katyusha is a better option simply because ability to get her to 5 stars and get her perked is considerably easier than the other characters. Cromwell has been overrated for a while because the Army didn't have much. It's not that she's bad hero. It's just the way she sits with Katyusha. She's weaker on the offense side, but however, she does have a HP buff, right? So it kind of upends her for PvP with Katyusha. But the truth of the matter is, it's not good enough to say, okay, let me go dump everything I have into her. That's kind of where it sits, and why I'm not a big fan of her. She just doesn't have it to invest in. Not to say you're not going to get good results with her. You're going to. Any hero on that A list and in mostly that B list, you're going to get good results with.
I was gonna say I have Cromwell and because I'm Army, and I like her. I've kept building her just because I had her to start with. Um, but I will say when I go up against other army people that have prey in particular, um, prey usually does outperform Cromwell. Not saying that that's always the case. My Cromwell's only at I think like of her exclusives a 4, or I may have just gotten it to a 5. Um, so I can definitely agree that out of Cromwell and Prey, they're great heroes, but if you're looking for the absolute top of the line, that um, what you recommended with Ray, Optimus, Mega. Hello, Army guys.
Right.
Hello, Army
Which
guys. Couldn't work.
the only reason I don't have Springfield up there in the S tier because Springfield is he's just as good as everybody that's above him, except for the fact that he's one sided. He's for defense. But he's so good on defense that that's why I put the asterisk there. I mean, he's so good on defense that he's
Well,
he's a god tier hero. Um,
and like we said about hero chasing with Navy, this is kind of that same boat. Like between uh, Ray, Cat, Prey, like Army has a good selection um, to kind of get you through. So if you've already like Cromwell, I've already been building Cromwell, so I'll get Cromwell to the exclusive 5, but I'm not going to hero chase just because there's a new hero out that's slightly better. I'll keep going with Cromwell until I'm ready to completely replace her efficiently.
right, and this is how I would approach it. This conversation came up with another member. He was like 130 shards away from 5-star in Cromwell, and he asked me, "Should I stop?" And I said yes. He doesn't have the exclusive 5, but he's 130 uni shards away. And I honestly, he's a small spender, VIP 6 or so. Those shards don't come easy. So I wouldn't waste
I
another shard on her.
I
Um,
actually have Prey, and I got Prey and Cromwell at the same time, and I just happened to have more stuff to build Cromwell, so she ended up getting built. And I've not touched Prey because there's so many other heroes that have come out that, like you said, sometimes there's just a point where you have to save those for a better decision.
yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what it comes down to, right? Is the way Top War kind of works is kind of want to hoard some stuff, save some stuff up so that when a hero does drop like Sinji, you can make that move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and that's the thing too is if I'm starting today, and let's say I have the ability to get Sinji, which I don't think he would be if he started today, but Sinji would be the hero that would be my number one priority hero, right? And then probably Maximo, and then the mega OP thing is probably out the window for a lot of the new players too. So you know they're at a disadvantage there, but um, it's tough because it was tough for the army because army was so bad for so long, and then they steadily dropped uh, heroes that were better and better and better this year, and so Cromwell was kind of the thick of that, and so now you're sitting here with a 5-star Cromwell and a 5-star exclusive, and the performance isn't there, and it's kind of a bummer, but I will say this: it won't be long. There'll be a new hero drop. So you know, if you can hold off on developing somebody like Cromwell or even Prey until like the new army hero drops, and you can see where they're at or what they're doing. I would very much do so. And I say that because Katyusha's right there. Katyusha is available, and you can get so many shards for her, and she's gonna serve you well for a long time. She served the game well for this long, and she's still viable. She's still being talked about. She's still used by some of the top players because their exclusive skills so high on her. And that kind of makes for the reluctancy on some heroes like Prey or Cromwell.
Yeah, I agree. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments or maybe? It's a quiet bunch today.
Right? Nothing. Not even questions in the chat.
I know.
Hi guys.
Hi. What's your question?
I'm thinking of going. So I'm thinking of going secondary with Maximo, Selena, and Shinji. I haven't started leveling them up, but I was thinking about using them for Air Force for secondary since I'm an Army main, and I might just be getting hit with Navy.
Say that last part again. I didn't hear it. I'm sorry.
I'm an Army main, so I feel like I'm gonna get hit with Navy, so I'm making Air Force for secondary, and I'm just wondering if Maximo, Selena, and Shinji would be a good for Hero March.
Yeah, I mean that's the strongest march in the game. Shinji, Maximo, and Selena. There's not another march that compares to that march. I will say this. This is kind of a outside of the hero thing, but if you're an Army main, you probably want to go with Navy as your secondary march, just because of the space.
I can't say anything.
You know,
I'd
if you,
go in air as a secondary too. Especially, and my reasoning changed when Lancaster dropped. So if you're going to be Army and air, you have to level up Lancaster and get that extra space. Because, yeah, you're not going to have any space on land in order to make up for it. And I would make sure that your first march is completely set up and settled before you start in on that second one, because it kind of comes down to that hero chasing again. If your first march isn't solid and then you start using resources on that second march, it's going to hurt you in the long run. My opinion, anyway.
Yeah, so this is also this conversation. I want to reiterate, this is not a well conversation. So, it's a whole completely different thing for Wells, or people that spend quite a bit of money. If you're an Army main and you have those three heroes, that is the best march in the game. And if that's just kind of how it played out for you, then that's how it played out for you. You can maintain that, but I will say, just like she was saying, just simply because of your space, you're going to run into issues. Navy, in my opinion, Navy's still the best unit in the game. The hero options, particularly, are a reason, and also kind of by default, Army is the best defensive unit in the game, and you can make the most of them. So therefore, ex facto kind of buffs the Navy in a certain way. I say that because on this CE account, I'm Air Force main with an Army secondary, because it just happened that way. I never got anything for the Navy ever until here recently, and I if you look at my troop power, I'm well before the transfers come in, I was like 20, 22, 23 on the CP list for the server. But my troop power is probably close to 70 or 80 because I couldn't afford to keep that many tanks on my map because of the planes. I needed the planes, and I do suffer from that. When I go into SVSs, I have to play accordingly. I can't just leave my base hanging out there with my few amount of army troops that I have, because if I get hit, most likely, even if I take some out, I'm going to lose on the long run because I just don't have enough troops in that base.
Does anyone else have any other questions, or do you have another question?
No problem, brother.
You're welcome.
I will mention here, I did put a asterisk next to Rockfield's name. Rockfield's a great Air Force hero. It's one of the better free-to-play heroes. However, once you get to the development and get to encirclement, he's useless because his skill will not work anymore. And that's where his asterisk comes from. He will serve you well for a long time, but once you hit that encirclement about that year mark, well, depending how much you spend, but year and a half mark on encirclement, Rockfield is he basically is a purple hero after that, which really sucks. Well, he's worse than a purple hero because most of the purple heroes have a buff to them that Rockfield does not.
Everyone's so quiet tonight. Well, if nobody has any other questions or anything, we'll end the podcast and just go to free time, free conversation. Can tell if there was someone coming in, or
I think somebody just left. Might have. Looked like you had a lot of people jump in last night. I feel bad.
we did, but we didn't. It was kind of a half and half, and me and Lima had a conversation. I actually recorded that one too, and I thought it was kind of cool because I have two different perspectives now on the same hero. So that was my bad. I apologize. I thought yesterday was Monday for the majority of the day. It was really bad. I've been all mixed up. But it worked out. Now we have this cool new thing with two different things. He talked about his tests. He's been doing some tests, and he posted them on the Discord. So I do encourage that. If you're running tests, we have a channel. It's called Hero Tests. It's up in the public channels where your general chat is. And I encourage everyone to post their tests. Maybe tell us, what level exclusive you're using and that. So that everyone can kind of learn where the heroes are at. All right.
Yeah, I'll say this. You talk about those tests. Let me add something to it. Warzone's kind of designed to test your heroes. However, you miss out on a few things when doing that. So, what you want to look for primarily is the amount of damage they can do, their proc rate percentage, and then whether or not they can buff and how much they can buff, whether it's offensively or defensively. And that's kind of where the synergies developed. Like I'm seeing on here, it's a Basil Akka sea spray, and then there's a Balios U sea spray, and there's a Kotiya U sea spray. And that's all synergy based, right? And that's a big thing. If you ideally you want like a pure attack hero like a Megatron, and then you want a defensive buffing hero like Optimus. What makes him even better is because he switches to an offensive attack and he can silence. And then your third would be some sort of defensive or offensive style buffer, and thus making the synergy come full circle. So
yeah. Sounds good. I think Lima was testing against Balos. He was trying to compare Koyota. And gosh, now I can't remember what we're calling her. Against Balos, particularly. Very cool.
I don't know where Lima's. I don't know what kind of. He's running.
His was against. He has another player that he tests with, so it was not in Warzone. And
Yeah.
I forget what level exclusive we were dealing with yesterday.
Yeah, it's a different game. Heroes is there's a different game. There's a game that free to play players are playing. There's a game that are mid level vendors are playing, and then there's a game that the whales are playing. And
And for the most part, there's when you're playing in SVS, I mean, you can still play those. The whales usually know each other and aren't going after each other, and that leaves everyone else. So definitely a spot for everyone.
Oh, 100%.
All right. Well, last call. Any other questions? Come on, Spoonie. I saw it being typed. Were you just gonna request to see the battle report again of me saving you yesterday?
Shells, did I answer your question?
Yes, you did, dear. I'll tell you one thing is I would love to have a heavy trooper talk.
Heavy trooper talk. Yes.
Because I hate my tank. I call it mine. I could name him Frank, and he's a piece of junk.
Is that the yellow one? Or
yes.
Yellow one. Yeah. You want heavy troopers too? Okay. I know 2 people are looking for chips, a chip talk too. So I will, and just how to do that. We may need to do some screen sharing. That might be a little easier to explain some of the heavy trooper stuff.
I think a lot of it is it's more confusing of like what chipsets are the chipsets matched, or is it like preference?
No, it's I wouldn't say it's preference either. I will say this, as it stands right now, the heavy trooper, Earthshaker, he's defensive oriented, and the Blazing Gale is offensive oriented. But I will say, as from an Air Force standpoint, I've had better showing with the Earthshaker than I have the Blazing Gale, specifically because of Maximo and the Force Field 2 that the Earthshaker offers, where he protects the left and the right side of his units on each side. So the thing about the Blazing Gale that I like in particular for Army, in your case, is number one is the Speed Blast, which is an 80% chance to give the target a 15% vulnerable effect, and then you add on Megatron, and voila! All of a sudden, you don't need exclusive 7 for Megatron. However, that's just from him. That's not, not every unit can give vulnerable buff. But the second one is he doesn't completely negate the pulse jammer, but it does nerf the pulse jammer a little bit with his last ability of perfect dance and not being able to be debuffed with the cannot launch attack. So there's there's something to say about him in the army. However, if you're running, defense, the Earthshaker's going to be the way to go versus the Blazing Gale. But
we can definitely
again, too,
have like a bigger, in-depth conversation on this topic, because like I said, I have gotten a lot of requests for that. Is there any other topics that you guys want before we leave that I can kind of get planned?
yeah, I want to know why I've spent 24 blue tickets and I have yet to get a purple ticket.
I think there's something going on today because a lot of people on my server were having the same problem. You're talking about in the trooper, like you're playing with people.
Yeah, I submitted a ticket because it's been so bad.
It
wasn't that bad when it started.
Do you guys hear my daughter? Can you hear her whistle?
No, I cannot.
She's watching Lego Star Wars and she's singing like this Jingle Bell song. The anticipation. It sucks. Every day, never get any golds from the ones that should at least give a chance for them. Agreed. I think I've gotten one.
Yeah, I got 3 gold middle pieces. One that I'm currently using like a 75% HP increase on my heavy trooper, which is not the most ideal, but I'll take it compared to the other ones. I don't have a developed navy whatsoever, and I have like a 15 or 16 damage increase gold one for the navy, and then I have like a 60% attack increase one for the navy. It's like, son of a, and I only think I have 1 attack speed. Period.
Oh, ouch! Seriously, Spoonie? That sucks a lot. I just got one of the extra pieces for your heavy trooper, the yellow one. My yellow heavy trooper is still not built. He's not complete. He's missing like 1 or 2 pieces still.
Don't feel bad. Neither is mine.
Yeah.
Mine's running on a carburetor.
I mean, with this new thing, I finally have chips, so at least my chips are finally getting upgraded. But yeah, heavy troopers are. Spoonie, you spend a lot of money though, so I would be complaining to someone. Find a dev. Get some complaints going in there. That's awful. All right. Well, it is 7:46, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording at this point for YouTube, because no one wants to sit here and listen to us chatter. Well, some people might, but all right.